Welcome to the Exceptional Educators Playbook. I'm Stephanie Kidd, our middle school math consultant, and this is Miss Chasity Craft. She is our literacy consultant, and Chastity's going to be monitoring our chat box, so I highly encourage you to drop any comments or any questions that you have in there. The purpose of this podcast is to offer professional learning opportunities and to meet the needs of our teachers, while giving teachers a platform to share their experience also. Every month, we will highlight a different topic for every educator needs to know, and each week that topic will be broken down into specific content areas. Week 1 will be literacy. Week 2 is math. Week 3 is social, emotional, and behavior. And then week 4 will be low incidence community. And that's where we're at today. We're at the low incidence community. You will have the opportunity to share your successes, the ideas, and questions so that we can learn from each other. And today we are discussing instructional strategies for our LI students. And we are excited to have Missy Sanders with us. I almost said Melissa, sorry. She is from Pike County. She teaches at Elkhorn City. And we are pleased that she's going to share with us today about accommodations, modifications, and strategies that she uses in her classroom for specially designed instruction. We are going to ask her just some simple questions, and we're going to get through this today. And if you have any questions for her, please feel free to ask. So, Missy, my first question for you is, can you describe some of your most successful behavior strategies you've had in your classroom?
Thank you. I'm just going to start out with my favorite and the one that I've had the greatest success with, and that is positive reinforcement. I'm a big believer in positive reinforcement, and that leads us into continuous reinforcement for our little ones that are just getting introduced to that. And then the token board, I use that for some of my older students, and I've got a couple of examples of those. But what I did at the beginning of every school year, I send home a reinforcement survey for the parents to complete. But I also do a reinforcement assessment myself, just like right before we start a session. Like when we sit down, I'll get like a tray and I'll lay out 5 things and see what they want to work for. And I guess that's the most important thing, is to have a strong enough reinforcer that you have their attention and they're going to want to sit there and work for that reinforcer. This is one example of the token board. It's got Paw Patrol on it. So this is for my little ones. And then I like to use the penny boards as early as I can. And that way they're learning their coins without even knowing it. So if they're just starting out, I might preload the board for 3. And they know they got to work for 5. But really they're only having to work for 2 to start out. And then they'll count their coins and then they get a nickel. So once they get that, then they have access to whatever it is they chose to work for. So I've had great success with it. Another big thing is building and maintaining relationships with my students and with their parents. And you know, that goes right with behavior, because they could have been up all night, they could be sick, they could be things going on that I don't know about. And if I've got those relationships established and we communicate, and that really helps.
So how are you communicating right now with your parents and your students?
Well, through we text and they message me. We have a Facebook group, but we also have Canvas, which is our platform in Pike County, and they can message me on there as well. But they all have my number, so they can text me anytime.
Awesome. How do you engage your students in their learning?
Okay, we do a lot of hands-on things, and I don't push a lot of paper and worksheets, just because I feel like they learn better with more tangible things. So we do the box tasks or task boxes, however you say it. But also, I pulled a few things from a program we use. This is like fractions. So this gives them kind of a real life example and a hands-on way to learn their fractions. We'll do like these with our counters. So anything that they can physically touch and have a visual way to see it, and like they're more engaged.
Yeah, we refer to that as the CSA model, and that's the concrete, the semi-concrete, and then the abstract. So
Okay.
that is perfect for our kids. And like I said, the more that they're moving things around, touching, and those kind of things, it's very important for our students.
Yeah.
What part of your daily routine is a must for your students?
Okay, when thinking about this, the visual schedule is what comes to my mind, especially early on. I know they can later move. I've had students that move to a written schedule, but that visual schedule, especially for my students with autism, is so crucial that they know what they're doing, what's coming next, and what to expect. And we all have those things that pop up in the middle of the day. It might be a fire drill, it might be an assembly, and so we have to have those, ready to put up there. It might not be on there that morning, but you can always put it up there for them, so to prepare them for whatever it is that's coming up.
So what are some of your visual schedules? What do they have on them?
Well, in the morning, it'll have breakfast. We've been eating in the classroom when we were here, but if they did go to the cafeteria, it would have an actual picture of the cafeteria and have a picture of the rug for center time. Then it would have, like, if they go out to special class or if they're going to speech or occupational therapy, it would have a picture of the therapist. And so I start out with actual pictures.
Okay.
And then you can fade those to like more just abstract pictures and then just the words.
Okay.
So
Chasity has a question for you.
How has your relationship with your families changed with the distance learning? I thought it was interesting that you said that they all have your number, so you have a very good relationship, obviously. But how has that changed with the?
I don't know. It's kind of changed in the fact I don't see them. I'm not seeing them every day. And of course I'm not seeing my kids, so that's just really been hard. But I think that they feel like they can reach out to me, and they know because some of them are struggling. I don't think our relationships have changed, but we've maybe not have been as close because we're not seeing each other in person. But we're still maintaining our relationship. So that's important.
So kind of you have formed such a bond with your parents and students already. So then the difference, I guess, is the communication piece really hasn't changed. It's just, you just don't see them every day versus you did when you were in person. You saw them every day, but now you don't. But that communication piece, the way you text and things is the same. Is that?
Yes. Yeah.
And so with your students, you're having daily communication. Do you have daily communication with most parents too?
Most of the time, if I have any questions about anything, or if I come and pick up packets, or if they are wanting to, make sure I got it, or make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, they'll message me.
Okay. So what are some of your tried and true instructional strategies that you have for math?
Okay. Well, this one is for both reading and math, but one thing that I use a lot in screenshot, that's a constant time delay, and I use this for math as far as like number identification, shapes, colors, things like that. And then going on from there, we use like the manipulatives, kind of like what I showed you. And then one of my greatest things that I love for math is the tax analysis, as far as breaking down. And I always use this as an example because it's one of my biggest successes as a teacher. I feel like I had an 8th grade student, and he did not know how to turn a calculator on. And he was needing to learn how to find the volume of a sphere. So there were 13 steps in a scientific calculator, and we broke those steps down for him. And we used the system of least count. So, I'm telling him what to do, but as he would go, then, we would help him. And by the time he was finished, he could complete the whole 13-step equation independently. So, yeah.
That is a big thing. Can you describe what that's like to go through that with a student, though? I mean, completely. I mean, you started it, but what's it like starting out? What's the first thing that you would do?
Well, it'd just be like a verbal prompt, which you could use instead of the system of least prompt, you could use most to least prompting. I've done that too. But you just start out by teaching step one, and then just turn the calculator on, and then looking at the problem, turn the calculator on, look at your problem, and then the next step. So actually, when I wrote the goal, I broke it down into so many steps, each objective. So, and then we were just walking through it, and we were just letting practice maybe the first step over and over for a few days until he had mastered that. That's one thing, which we'll get into a little bit with the program we use now, and it's about mastery, not just exposure. And that's important with our alternate assessment standards too, is that they master it, that they know what to do, and that when it comes to that assessment, that they can do it independently.
Absolutely. One of the things I like, you said they have to do it over and over again. That is so true of our students. All of them, they need multiple exposures and practice. Practice has to be every day, and the feedback has to be there every day to get that set in. So that's so true about our students. So give me some tried and true strategies for reading that you've done.
Okay, I go back to the literacy trials because I love them. From letter identification to identifying letter sounds to sight word identification. We start out, I use the STAR program and have for years, where you start out with one. It's errorless learning. You put out one word or one letter, and you tell them to point to that letter. You can do it receptive or expressive, and then you build. After they can point to the one letter, then you add a distractor, and you ask them to point to that same letter. So again, it's that repetition over and over where they get it right every time, and eventually they can work it to where they've got a field of 10, and they're able to pick the correct answer.
That's awesome. So with that program, you've got progress monitoring too with that? How do you do your progress monitoring?
Yeah, we have data sheets. We keep data during every session. So according to how your goal is written, but yeah, you just take data, just if they got it right or if they didn't, or if they required a prompt. So.
Awesome.
And Missy, I didn't mean to distract you earlier, but I always accuse Vonda and Steph for stealing the literacy spotlight at times. So when you said you had some literacy and math, I got really excited. So I have to keep them in check sometimes because it's 2 against 1, so I have to protect my literacy.
I'm a math girl. I'll admit it. I'm a math girl. All right. So you've been in the trenches. We talked about this earlier for like 14 years. What's your biggest learning experience you've had in 14 years?
Okay, I think the biggest thing that I've learned is that I'm always learning, that you're never going to know it all, and you're never going to get to the point that you're just like, I'm just done learning. I know all the strategies and techniques, because there's always new strategies, and not only that, but there's always a new student or a different student, and they have individual needs, and we have to individualize our instruction. So we just need to have that mindset that we always want to grow and learn all we can.
Awesome. Our next big question that we have is, we talked about progress monitoring for your students. So if you're progress monitoring for a student, how do you, first of all, progress monitoring, I want you to talk about that program we talked about this morning again. And then also, how do you celebrate those successes when those students reach those goals?
Okay, in the classrooms, if they reach their goals, of course they have chosen what it is they want to work for, and they get that. They get, a lot of times it's edibles or something physical that they are working towards that they'll get when they reach their goal. But as far as virtually, we're using a program called Encore through TeachTown, which we talked about, and it is wonderful. So it has the whole in-class side, as far as it has a student workbook. In the mornings, we can pull the story up on the smartboard and go over the story. You can do a teacher session with the kids and collect data on the smartboard. They can work independently. And I also have the worksheet and the hands-on materials. So at home, virtually now, I'm able to go in and put my IEP goals in and individualize it and pull over the lessons that I want those students to work on. And they go in each day and work on those lessons, and it automatically collects the data for me. And it will graph it and provide a progress report. And then once they reach their goal, it has like a game at the end. So they get to pick the game that they want to play, whatever, and it's as a reinforcement.
Our kids love games. It's one of the big things. And most of the time they learn so much through those games. So that's a big plus for our kids too. In your progress monitoring for that, that's already kept for you on the computer, but how are you progress monitoring things like their adaptive skills and those kind of things that you're needing to progress monitor? I know through virtual. How are you doing that?
And that's hard. That's a difficult thing because a lot of times you're relying on the parent to get that for you. And again, that goes back to your relationship, developing trust, and you know, what you need and get for those kids. Which the program also has some of those things embedded within it, the lessons, so I can get some of that too. But again, it's still like to have my own data, and they will send in work samples and things like that that I can see student work.
So did you front load any of your students with manipulatives that you already use in your classroom before this started? What were some of the things you sent home?
I sent home, they all have counters, they have the books that we're going to do, the worksheet, cards, the word cards, anything that we're going to be doing, they have it there. And then I'll do a video showing, you know, reading the story or showing them what I want them to do that day and using those same things.
Okay, so today we kind of talked to, well, I kind of talked to you about how you use your paraprofessionals in this time. So in the classroom, typically, what would your paraprofessionals be doing? And then what does that look like now virtually?
Like when we're in person, they, like of the morning, we do centers. So we break out and each one of them, they have a center that they run. So we will have, you know, with the Teacher Town Encore program, we have just English, language arts, and math, science, and social studies. So we also throw in a writing center with that as well. And so they'll each do their own center. And then, of course, they take the kids out for their special classes, or some of them go to the regular ed classroom. And now, what it looks like for us, and they've been wonderful because they have, you know, the option of working from home or to come in, and they've been really great to come in. We at least one day a week we're here getting things ready for the next week. We try to stay a week ahead.
So are you guys getting to do any like Google Meets or anything like that? You guys are using Canvas, so are you doing any like in-person or, well, video meetings with your kids?
I've not done any Zoom meetings. I just did a pre-recorded video, which is what they kind of told us to do at the beginning, you know, to accommodate the parents and their work schedules. It's just hard to get everybody at once on there, but yeah, I mean, that is an option. It's a good option to do that. And then when we were able to, before all this, they were coming in on Friday and, you know, individually one-on-one. So that was really nice.
Oh, that's a wonderful option. Do you have anything else that you want to add?
No, I don't think so.
I'm just sitting here and I'm just listening to you, Missy, and I mean, you just have some wonderful things going on, but the one thing that kind of gets me, is when I look at you talking about your students and your classes, you can see the compassion in your face. And I mean, just the love that you have for your kids and your parents is showing through right now. I appreciate that. I just wanted you to know that, because
that means so much. Because I do. I miss them. I mean, there's, there's nothing like, having them in class and watching their progress. The smallest thing is the biggest, celebration here. So we need that. We'll do what we have to do.
And I didn't catch earlier, you may have said, but you said you had mentioned 8th grade, but what grade levels do you cover?
What grade do I teach?
Yeah, yes. What grade levels do you cover?
I have a kindergarten, 1st and 2nd, and I have 1 7th grader.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's a wide variety.
Yeah.
It's a real wide variety. I think we've about covered everything that we were going to talk about today, and we greatly appreciate you being on here. I thank each of you for joining us today for our session this week of the Exceptional Educators Playbook, and I'm excited that we've got to meet with Missy today and learn about all the wonderful things that she's doing in her classroom. And I loved our discussion today, by the way. And
she got some good jobs in the chat. Go Missy.
Yeah, and so we love that. And basically we're going to be putting this up on our if you missed it or you want somebody else to watch it, we're going to put it on our website so you guys can see it there. And I'll make sure, Missy, you get that. I'll send that out to you. If you have any questions about LI, you can email Miss Cheryl Mathis at CherylMathis@theholler.org, or you can email me, Stephanie Kidd, at theholler.org. And also you can visit us at theholler.org, and we're under KVEC Special Ed. And you can view any of our past podcasts there. Our next one is going to be explicit instruction, where we're going to talk about the I do, the we do, and the you do. So these are great things, and we hope that everybody can join us next month, and we'll holler at you later.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, Missy, so much.